What's happening, guys? So I just got the new Benchmade Bugout in 20 CV. I believe this is the Blade HQ exclusive. The edge on it is pretty terrible. I want to go ahead and put a new one on there. I'm going to be using my Norton Water Stones here. Had them soaking for about 20 minutes. I'm going to start on the 220 here, which is extremely coarse. If you know anything about most American-made water stones, they are much coarser than the grit rating would lead you to believe. The last time I used these stones, I flattened them and conditioned the surface. So this guy is really coarse, really textured, so this should not take very long at all. If you know anything about the Norton stones, they are pretty friable. And listening to Newman 2000 talk, he's the guy who came up with the washboard system. Listening to him talk, he says as long as you keep the stones flushed, that helps prevent some of the friability and breakdown of the stone itself. He said as the grit and the slurry build up on the stone, it not only makes the stone cut faster, it also wears the stone away faster. So if you don't want that, just keep the stone flushed quite well, and that will help slow that process down. I'm putting almost no pressure down. Like I said, this stone is friable. It will cut plenty fast without my help. I've got a burr everywhere but the back portion of the edge. Just placing my fingers on that area. Not applying additional pressure, just placing my fingers on that area to give me pinpoint grinding there. Still not quite there. Hopefully you can see some of this slurry that's building up. And that's what I'm talking about. You want to keep that rinsed off of the stone. And that will help prevent it from wearing the stone away quickly. Obviously, you want to work around the stone. You don't want to concentrate just in one spot. Corners are always neglected. So that's a good place to pinpoint grind. Okay, I got a burr built up. I can see where my edge is getting a little bit wavy, so I'm gonna do some long sweeping passes, try to even some of this out. Switch sides and do the same thing. flip the burr in most areas, but I can still see some factory grinding here in the base and definitely in the belly and tip area. I'm actually going to flip my stone around to get a little even wear. Definitely got the burr flipped. So I'm just going to concentrate in these two areas that I see factory grinding still. Trying to get that removed. Alright, I'm pretty much good enough to move on. Rinse the stone again, do a few minimizing passes. I've created a burr on both sides. Now I'd like to flip-flop it a few times and see if I can't break some of it off or cut some of it off. Continuing on with the 1000 grit, as I was saying earlier, most American stone manufacturers rate their grit ratings at a coarser grit than the Japanese counterparts. Grit's kind of a hard thing to quantify. Honestly, stone makers should just say what micron size the abrasive in the stone is and go with that. I know I've said that in other videos, but I truly believe that. This 1K stone, for example, is comparable to some 600 grit stones, or maybe even a 320 grit stone in some cases. It's quite coarse. At least in comparison to Japanese water stones. They do work though. They work quite well. You just gotta know what they're equivalent to, what other stones they work well with, and keep them flushed. Don't let that slurry build up, because you don't want them to wear out faster than other stones. I can see in the light where I'm not quite getting rid of some of the previous scratches. I've already got a burr developed. Belly area is giving me fits. coming up to the 4,000 grit now. Stone's a little dirty. Doesn't feel like I chamfered the edges here. I'm gonna go ahead and take my Tanjo stone and just kind of break those edges a little bit. Feels a little better. So this is the 4,000 grit. This stone actually feels more like 1,000 grit on a Sharpening Pro, for example. Maybe a little bit finer, more like a Sharpening, or rather a 1,000 grit King. That would be a little more comparable. As you can see, plenty of steel is being removed. This is 20 CV steel. The Norton stones have no problem sharpening this stuff. So if you guys were ever looking for a bug out, but you didn't like how flexible the original handles were, you know, you can squeeze them and the scales kind of squish together. The G10 gray version does have that, but nowhere near as flexible. So the 20 CV version might be something you want to check into. Could be exactly what you're looking for. It's a nice little knife, perfect size. Weight is fantastic, even in the G10 model. It's one of my favorite models. And I'll show you guys at the end my entire bug out collection. I don't have as many as some guys. The coated blades I'm just not a fan of, so all the coated versions I've avoided. But the satin finish or stonewash finish blades I have tried to get my hands on. Now these stones you got to be extra careful with, because the higher in grit you go, seems like the more susceptible they become to digging in and snow plowing. So all the hard work you do on your coarse stones, like that right there, I don't know if you heard it, it sounds like it's digging in. So all the hard work you did on your coarse stones can get wiped out in just a few strokes. You shave your apex off like I think I just did. So what I'm gonna do is go back over this edge a few more times and reestablish it. And this 4K is coarse enough to reestablish the apex. As I said, it's kind of comparable to some Japanese water stones in the 1,000 grit range. I know I keep repeating myself, guys, so I do apologize, but it's all relative to what I'm doing currently. The edge feels decent. I'm just going to go ahead and finish up here and we will complete it out on the 8K. Final stone, this is the 8000 grit, of course. I compare this one to the Sharpening Pro 5K quite often. It is quite soft, so if I feel like I want to dig into the stone, I'm probably just going to go to all trailing strokes. That way I don't shave my apex off. So far, so good. I am bumping the shoulder a little bit, dropping the spine further or closer to the stone. I'd rather bump off the shoulder than go too far forward and shave the apex off. Forgive me if I get quiet. I'm trying to really concentrate on this. Getting pretty nice polish. I think we're going to call it there. Tonight I'm going to strop on my preferred strop, which is my Dlt XL. This is white compound. That should be plenty. Just some magazine paper. Hopefully you guys can read this. I'm afraid the glare is blocking the display. If that's the case, I'm going to read the numbers out to you regardless. Since 82. 110. So the average comes out to 95, I believe it was. You guys are welcome to do the math and figure it out, but I believe it was 95. Give you a quick close-up of this edge. Took a really nice polish. Can't seem to get the lighting right to show off the scratch pattern. Well, I guess you can just look at the polish and the geometry. It's all pretty consistent, which means their main grind is pretty consistent. Not seeing any real problems other than this back choil, which is always an issue for every knife, it seems like. You start to see that smile. That choil is going to be enhanced here in the next sharpening or two. As I said, I was going to show you guys my entire bug out collection. So obviously this is the one we just sharpened in 20 CV. This is the original S30V model with the blue handles. Starting to get a little bit of rust on here. I need to take some polish to it. Well, that's coming off as I rub it. Anyway, this is the S30V. This is the original model. This one still has the factory edge. I haven't sharpened it because it's just so doggone good. It is ridiculously sharp. I haven't felt the need to sharpen that one. Got the Mini, obviously an S30V. Got the Jade version. Not a fan of this handle. I just don't like Jade, but again, I wanted to get the blade because it was uncoated. This one is also in 20 CV. Got the Gold class. This one's probably my favorite for obvious reasons. Damasteel, carbon fiber, blue C-Tech. Love this knife. Again, haven't sharpened it. The factory edge came really nice. Not to mention I've never used it. This one's pretty much been a safe queen, if you will. It's just sat in my drawer. And of course, the one I just sharpened in my last video. This is the carbon fiber S90V version. If you guys know of one that is not coated, that I don't have in this collection here, please let me know. I'd like to track it down and get my hands on it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them down below. I appreciate you watching. Y'all have a good one.